In most cases, a person's age bears very little relevance to whether they are effective at something they choose to do. For example, you can be an excellent driver at 90 years old. As such, a person's ability to continue to do something should be judged on a case-by-case basis. The problem is less about the number of years we've lived and more about the choices we've made over that time. How much baggage do we drag along as we experience life? How much of that baggage can influence us to make poor decisions? Would it surprise you to hear that the majority of the United States Senate is over the age of 50? How about the fact that over 2/3 of the Senate is over the age of 60? Strom Thurman turned 100 on December 5th, 2002. He gained the record of being the oldest serving senator 6 years earlier at the age of 94. This was a man who was serving as the governor of South Carolina during the Civil Rights Movement. As a Dixiecrat, he told his followers there were not enough troops in the army to force white Southerners to end segregation. In the 1948 presidential election, Thurman won more than 1 million votes and carried 4 Southern states. Thurman was elected to the Senate as a write-in candidate. This was in 1954, the year the Supreme Court banned segregated schools. This is when he began his fight in the losing battle to preserve segregation, setting his first Senate record in 1957 by filibustering a civil rights bill with a floor speech that lasted more than 24 hours. In 1964, as a response to President Lyndon Johnson signing the Civil Rights Act, Thurman made a move that began an entire movement and transformed American politics, switching to the Republican Party. This inspired many other Dixiecrats to follow suit. Think about how those career choices influenced his later decisions. It's astounding just how hard this man fought to maintain a status quo that openly marginalized the African American community through segregation. How many more popular progressive bills were blocked later in his career because of his outdated views and prejudices? This past week, DNC Vice Chair David Hogg came under fire from the Democratic National Committee for discussing his plans for primarying incumbents in what he called safe seats that he deems ineffective. On CNN, Democratic National Committee chairperson Ken Martin called for DNC officials to basically vote for neutrality to be codified in the party's official rules and bylaws. Martin is quoted as saying, "No DNC officer should ever attempt to influence the outcome of a primary election, whether on behalf of an incumbent or a challenger." He went on to say voters should decide who our primary nominees are, not DNC leadership. Hogg argued Democrats cannot be the strongest opposition party possible unless it changes the status quo. In response, it seems the DNC is planning to change their rules because Hogg has worked within the current set while making his statements. The role of the DNC is to set the presidential primary calendar, set the presidential debate schedule, to help strengthen our state parties, play a key role in building our data infrastructure for the party, and to be the campaign in waiting for whoever the next Democratic nominee is, as Hogg said. Nothing I'm doing is at odds with any of that. Again, from Hogg. The reason for this controversy is that there are about a dozen incumbent Democrats that are being challenged by younger candidates over not doing enough to block President Trump and his agenda. The new non-endorsement based policy of neutrality would block any DNC officer from challenging incumbents. This essentially would block Hogg from taking actions to support efforts through his group, Leaders We Deserve, an organization that plans to spend a total of $20 million in next year's midterms, supporting young people running for office. If this policy is set, Hogg could lose his position if the organization goes through with supporting the new candidates. As we've seen in the 2024 election, maintaining the status quo is a losing strategy. Playing it safe and trying to simply look reasonable is not going to move the needle when it comes to public support. While MAGA Republicans made bold and unrealistic promises while attacking the Democrats just responded weakly. Like, they just didn't have the fight in them. They didn't effectively make their case, and it should have been an easy thing to argue. Now, they're letting the MAGA Republicans, steamroll them. And it says that at almost every point without any kind of a fight. To be fair, there have been outliers in Cory Booker and AOC, but many seem unwilling to speak out against Trump's executive orders, mostly illegal and corrupt activities, and even the threat of weaponizing issues like the debt ceiling. It feels like many of those who represent us have forgotten that inaction under the threat of oppression is essentially siding with the oppressors. Not speaking up speaks volumes against those who are negatively impacted. When working as a public servant, apathy is not a luxury that should be an available option. That's what I have for this week. Until next time, remember, you have a voice. It's imperative that you don't let anyone silence you. If you like this content, please like and subscribe for more videos like this. Ring the bell for updates. It really helps the channel.